So you may not know this, but part of doing this podcast is looking for podcast topics, because it's really difficult each week to come up with a podcast topic, particularly when you're still thumbing through Warhammer books of an ilk that are the similar size to Osprey books, but aren't quite Osprey books. And really, you've got nothing much to report because your week has been having early nights. Thank you very much. So one of the videos I found a series of videos on YouTube, none of which I really feel about talking about except for this one, was the title, Warhammer is Not a Luxury. And I thought about this, and I watched the video, and the video was a whole lot of exclamation about how Games Workshop are raising their prices 6.5% to 9.5%, maybe even 10 to 15% for those of us that once might have lived in Australia, or still live in Australia and have to pay Games Workshop money. And it made me reflect on the fact that I think Warhammer is a luxury. I think the whole thing is a luxury. Everything I talk about on this podcast is a luxury. And it's a luxury which has been something which I haven't been able to do at various points of time. One of the reasons that I'm wrapping up things with Rochi, whose name's rhymes with Crotch Rochford, is that it's just too much luxury. I can't justify, as a father of two now, having a painter paint my lead pile. That just strikes me as being foolish and unforgivable in certain circumstances, and something which I'm no doubt going to have to answer to my daughters at some point. So my thought was, well, let's get enough runway where we don't have to answer this in the future. But it is interesting, this whole notion of what luxury is, like whether a hobby is a luxury. I think by nature of definition, and this also comes from doing model rail radio, a hobby is definitely a luxury. A hobby is definitely adjunct to the electricity bill and the water bill and all these other things, and it's impossible not to say that. It strikes me as very strange that there may be generations of people that don't view hobbies as luxuries, or don't foresee, like they feel like they're being persecuted because they have to pay money for a hobby. I don't know, that didn't rest easily with me, and I thought to myself, this is a My Rules Are Better recording. Let's put out the idea that this thing is in fact a luxury. It just seems strange. It seems like the narrative has just completely gone off the rails with regards to Games Workshop in probably the past decade. And I guess as someone who is interested in Games Workshop of more than 2 decades prior, I'll just put this there. Tom Barbalet at Las Vegas, Nevada, signing out.